Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Mel K Show. It's been a while because I've been on the road, but my favorite historian and veteran and my true Patriot pal, Paul, is back with us tonight. I think it's a good time for Paul to step in and give you some insight and some ways to protect yourself going forward and prepare for what's next. And thank you for joining me again, Paul.
Hello, Mel. It's great to be back, and got my studio set up so we can actually do some real hardcore
Awesome.
work now.
Awesome.
Get
And
that
you got
going.
your awesome banner behind you. I have a beautiful banner like that.
Yes, I do.
Oh,
And
yeah. Constitutional abiding patriots we are.
Yes.
Cool.
Instead of law abiding, because that's the deep state term. We want to get away from the deep state.
Yeah, you are exactly correct. I actually am going this week to Kentucky, where I'm going to be, Lynn Wood is going to be launching his strike back against the cabal.
Nice.
And we're going to be encouraging people to stop patronizing cabal-based businesses and the big box stores that, you know, really pillaged the small businesses this past year and a half, and get people motivated to look for better ways to spend their money.
Oh yeah, for sure. But
Cool.
it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be some pain in there because too many of the big box stores have really overstepped themselves, and
Yeah.
they've really gone rogue on us. So
Yeah, for sure. And you know, all these people, it's every day. I know you saw last week, they accidentally Chase Bank took away General Flynn's credit cards because of reputation problems. You know,
yeah.
the biggest of the big cabal banks, just calling them out. And then it was an accident, of course.
Yeah, I think General Flynn, should have more of a problem now with them. It's a disgrace to have their card.
I know. Well, I'll tell you what, General Flynn, he's not stopping. Nobody is. They're like this gang of like true superheroes out there with their character and their motivation and their passion, and nothing can stop them. And they've tried everything they could. Trust me.
Oh yeah, and it's everything I could do here to keep up with Dave and Scott and Mike and stuff like that, to try to keep up with the information and everybody that's contributing to all this. So
well, anyway, let's do it, Paul.
All right.
Take the floor. You're the one that gives me the most hope. Let's do it.
Oh, all right. Well, here's the thing is what I'm going to talk about is a crib notes version of a course that I wrote about 10 years ago, and I started giving to civilians and citizens groups and things like that, called 0 to 72 Hours, Making the Right Decisions Can Save Your Life. And we're going to get kind of the crib notes version of about a 4 to 6 hour seminar.
Right.
And but this should start some people thinking. What I've been giving up till now is kind of historical stuff, but this is actually looking to your own individual futures.
Right.
And how to secure your families and things like that. And I'm coming from a position of knowledge. I spent 14 years running a training section for combat air crew, teaching them to escape and evade and survive behind enemy lines. And I wrote this course to adapt that information to civilians and their type of environment and things. And of course, everything that I present is subject to adaptation by every person that's listening to this.
Sure.
Everybody has a different situation, different family, different environment, and things like that. So anyway, let's get rolling here.
Okay, great. Let's do it.
All right. The first thing is there's actually 6 sections to this actual seminar. The first section is preparation. The second is training that be required to probably try to get to make it worthwhile. Planning, coming up with a plan with your family, coming up with a plan with your friends, your coworkers, whatever your situation is. Decision making. You have to be able to make a sound decision right away, because time is of the essence. You may have minutes, you may have hours, you may have days, you don't know. So you need to make sure that that's happening. You need to execute. You need to be able to execute the plan. You need to be ready, packed and ready to go to a certain level, depending on what your plan is. And then there's a transition. The transition is once you've reached the 72-hour mark, after you've executed your plan, put your training into use, you need to at some point transition from a defensive posture and thought process,
right,
to a offensive thought process, because in nothing we do today, and especially as Americans, and as General Patton always likes to say, Americans, don't like a loser. So, and Americans, we like to win, and we're going to win. So we have to have that state of mind.
Yep.
God has always got our six, as long as we stay within the boundaries of the Constitution, the oath, and the Bible,
Right.
and the Ten Commandments, basically. So, but you can do it. So anyway, just to give you an idea, what preparation is. Preparation for some people started a long time ago. Some people are just starting. I hear from people all the time, hey, I want to learn this, I want to learn that. And I've gotten some nice emails since I started working on your show.
Great.
So life is good. Yes, one lady understands history now after we went through some of that stuff. So,
Great.
but the most important thing, the most important survival skill everyone possesses is not a tangible item. It's your brain. You have to train your brain. You have to feed it training. You have to feed it confidence. You have to give it the information that it needs to feel confident about it.
Right.
And one of my suggestions is, and this is written by a good friend of mine, Dave Grossman. He's a retired lieutenant colonel from the Army. He travels around. He trains level 1 operators like Mike and stuff like that. But he was a combat psychology professor at West Point.
Oh, wow.
But he did a video series called The Bulletproof Mind.
Oh, cool.
And this and a book called On Combat that he wrote, that's on the important reading list, or the mandatory reading list for the Marine Corps.
Oh, wow.
He talks about in there all the things that everybody contributes to PTSD or PTS, because it's not a disorder. It's the body's normal response to stress. Everybody's is a little bit different, but the core is all the same. The core responses are all the same. And if every single person that goes into combat, goes into a stressful situation as a first responder, responds to a hurricane and sees some things, they really should watch this video before they get into those things, because when you come back, you'll understand what you're feeling and why. Because most of the PTS problems are caused by people beating themselves up internally.
Right.
There's all kinds of people trying to help them on the outside, but if they don't have it internally to help themselves, it's not going to help as much.
Right.
So you got to have information. You got to have it. You got to take courses. One of the other courses that I wrote back in 2012 was Liberal Proofing Your Guns, Understanding Your Oath, which I kind of talked about during my first segment, which is critically important, because you have to know that you're doing the right thing, that the deep state and the federal terrorists are not. You also need to study the Constitution. You need to study the Bible. You need to deeply soul search during this whole training phase. You need to think about, okay, liberty or death. Basically, am I willing to stand up no matter what? That you have to make that decision. Right. It's just like the Second Amendment says you can carry arms. Well, you better make a decision before you start carrying it, whether you're going to use it or not. Right. Because the worst possible embarrassing thing that can happen to you is to take it out and have it used against you.
Right.
So you need to have the mindset. It's all about mindset. History. You got to study history. If you don't know history, you don't know how to handle the present. Okay? We have to learn from the history that is before us. We have to learn from 6 million people that made bad decisions. We can't armchair quarterback that. We weren't there, but there is a certain group of individuals that have blood on their hands that coerced the people into just submitting. And submitting to get your freedom, you're never going to get it. You're never going to get it.
Well, that's what we're living through right now. It's the moving goalposts, all this. And you and I talked about in the very beginning, the hiding of therapeutics for the COVID is the crime against humanity on that level, just to begin with. But, also we're being brainwashed by the propaganda media. They're not even media anymore. They're full on propagandists. And it's as bad as Goebbels. It is sanctioned. It was sanctioned, as we talked about, by Obama with the modernization of the Smith-Munn Act. But now, we're watching what's happening in Afghanistan. A little bit of it seems wag the dog to me, but there's still the opposite side of that, which is now we have to really assess who's running our military, because everything that you're saying right now, I think most people always thought, well, at the end of the day, the military is going to take care of it. Well, our military right now seems to be very divided. I'm actually of the thinking that the military guys in power right now are running by NATO, but I don't know. But real people have to start thinking about, real consequences when faced with them in their own life. And what if nobody is coming or not fast enough?
Exactly. Everybody, I liken it to everyone is going to have their Lexington Green moment. And, you can't be taken prisoner of war. You cannot allow that. You have to do everything you can to avoid that. And again, that goes back to knowing the Constitution and knowing the oath and knowing who really is the criminal here.
Right.
Okay. With the steady rise of federal terrorism and these federal agency terrorists and stuff like that are going out there harassing, they're still keeping POWs in DC.
Yeah.
All this nonsense. And Afghanistan, this would actually apply to all those people that were regular citizens. What I'm going to talk about tonight, they could have used this information,
right?
Okay, to have a plan. But again, I am not going to armchair quarterback what they're going through. There's a lot of really big things that make me go, that's really weird. That's really out of the norm from the military that I know.
Right.
And I sometimes I have to question, is this all for show? Because we don't really know what's going on over there. Okay, they can stage all kinds of stuff. They've got a Hollywood over there.
Right.
I think they what do they call it? Pakistan, Packywood, something like that.
A Bollywood.
Yeah. They stage all these things. So I don't know. I don't know what to think about that. But
yeah,
there's certain aspects of history that really stand out that are really helpful in creating a mindset. And again, this is all about mindset. The physical aspects, it's like survival skills. Survival skills are really important because you can transport them everywhere. Okay, it's not like it's different than prepping. Okay, prepping is important,
right?
But that can't be your whole plan. That's not a good way to go. But there's certain things that you can look into and see how they handle things. Like a book called The Jews of Warsaw, 1939 to 1943, can really show you in spades why complying to think you're going to get freedom is not the way to go. The whole book is almost based off that if you boiled it down.
Right.
You can't comply. Mordecai Anilowitz, who led the uprising in 1943 on April 19th, actually, the same day Lexington Green happened, which is I think kind of cool. Yeah. That's my numbers thing, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some really interesting stuff along that lines. Also, you can actually find it if you search it. The code of conduct, the military code of conduct, doesn't necessarily have to apply to just military people. If you want a bedrock way of looking at things in your mind, the code of conduct is a good guide. It's a really good guide to read and get an understanding of. This is what the military people did or do when they're captured or they're stuck in an evasion situation or whatever. Or you can not do what John McCain did in a Hanoi Hilton, which I have pictures of the inside of that when I was over there in 2006.
I'm sure you saw Kamala giving the big thumbs up at a photo op in front of that the victory statue they put up of capturing him last week.
Oh, brothers. Yeah.
That's called not knowing history at all.
Yeah.
Because nobody even told you, no, that's them feeling like they won by capturing him, you moron. But yeah, I mean, again, but that's not knowing history, and it's blatant in our faces that she would even do that. And then she took a photo up in front of a portrait of Mao. So,
Oh yeah, yeah. That's a just sickening stuff. And
yeah,
I have a picture of John McCain's display of his flight gear in the Hanoi Hilton. He's got his own personal display. He's the only service member that has a personal display there in the Hanoi. So
yeah, figure that out.
anyway, one of the big things that goes along with this mindset is you need to have situational awareness. You
Very
need
important.
need to have situational awareness. Your physical space around you, okay, 21 feet out, in your surroundings, in the building you're in the area you're in, the neighborhood you're in. I'm sure you got a good feel of your neighborhood, of
Yeah,
what's out of place and what's not. You need to keep an eye on that. Everybody does.
right,
Need need to watch it. I mean, you've got the common criminals, and then of course you've got the full on federal terrorists
right,
that are just perpetrating tyranny and enforcing pretended legislation everywhere they go.
right.
So you need to look at your neighborhood. You need to know what's abnormal and what's normal. You need to look in your town, in your county, in your state. At the federal level, is there things going on? We know there's all kinds of nefarious stuff going on at the federal level.
Right.
So,
But the local level is just as important.
oh, absolutely, because more than likely they're all going to band together.
Right,
The FEMA DHS crime cartel,
right.
they're going to band together, and they're going to enlist the locals,
Right.
the ones that feel it's okay to violate their oath. They're going to band them together like the Einsatz's grouping.
Right. Well, it's exactly what you talked about is happening right now in New York City. And we both talked about a long time ago. Cuomo had already done one of those things that you warned about from Germany, where in 19, I think it was 48 or 40, it was earlier than that. When the Germany health ministry said that they could quarantine or remove anyone that they suspected of carrying the virus, which people don't realize that was part of it too. And that's happening right now in New York. And honestly, there are 1,800 people that are now working for de Blasio that are no different than the brown shirts. They're looking to take down restaurants and citizens. And it's really, really scary.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's scary, and they keep listening to Fauci, who studied with Mengele when
I
he was
know.
brought over here.
Also,
I mean,
never
how
practiced
scary.
medicine. Fauci never, ever, ever treated
No.
a patient or practiced medicine ever. So people also think he's a doctor, like Bill Gates. No, he's as much of a doctor as Bill Gates, basically.
Well, they're good at killing people. That's what they're
Yeah,
good at,
I know.
So anyway, training is really important. One of the first bits of training that people should look for is actual survival training. The very basics: water procurement and storage and purification, shelter building. They need to learn how to get food. They need how to build a primitive fire. If you don't have those rudimentary skills, you're really in big trouble.
Yeah.
Um,
A guy I'm
some
a
of those,
fan of, I just want people to know, a guy I'm a fan of, he's Luke at We Are Change. He was doing events up in New Hampshire, I believe, over this earlier in the summer, where like people came up for the weekend and they learned
Yeah.
everything you're talking about. It's really
Oh, yeah.
important. They probably
Yeah.
are doing them all over the country. People should look for people that are doing things like that locally. It's really important to know that, especially now.
Right. And what I would suggest is, make sure you look into the instructor,
Yeah.
see what kind of actual credentials they have.
Yep.
Okay. There's a lot of outdoorsmen that know a lot of stuff, but a good dose of actual formal
Right.
training. Like I was thankful to receive some of the best survival training and instructor training that money and your taxpayer dollars can provide. I graduated all the Air Force survival schools,
Right.
and went on to the instructor levels and basically ran a training section for 14 years. So
Yeah. Guys like you should probably be getting out there now and using their skills and background to prepare their local folks, because that's going to be you guys. That's what I've been saying since we started talking, but certainly the sheriffs and all that, but also the retired vets and the cops and firemen that left especially when this tyranny started and they knew that they no longer could work for the people they were working for and stay with their oath. This is a good way for them to get back in the game in a different realm to help, save our country.
Oh yeah, yep. And there's a lot of veterans out there that do have a lot of experience and
Right.
stuff like that. A lot of them, you gotta kind of keep an eye on that too, because it's like learning from the student as
Right.
opposed to learning from the instructor, because we have to go through a whole nother level of competency and training and
Right.
things like that to be an instructor. In fact,
Right.
on 9/11, I was at Abilene, Texas at Dyess Air Force Base.
Oh, wow.
I was attending 2 instructor schools
Oh.
actually when that happened. And yeah, they shut the airspace down, and I was actually slated to leave school because I belonged to one of the search and rescue teams in upstate New York
Right.
at the
Oh,
time.
right.
And we were actually some of my team, the Canines, actually deployed to the towers.
Right.
But I was stuck in Texas, but that was okay. It worked out. Finished my instructor schools, and because there's nothing you could do when you shut the airspace down. But
Right.
so along with basic survival training, escape and evasion training is actually kind of handy. Things like camouflage, concealment, movement, how to move through the woods. If you know a bow hunter or a turkey hunter, those guys can teach you some stuff about camouflage, concealment, and movement. Those are good resources to look into, because that's the whole nature of their trade.
Right.
If a turkey could smell, you wouldn't get within a mile of it.
Oh, wow.
Okay, because their hearing and their sight, they can actually see your chest rise and fall when you breathe at a distance.
Wow.
Okay, so even in camouflage, they can actually detect your chest rising if you're not really good at it. And like deer hunters and stuff like that, bow hunters, they need camouflage because a deer can smell and it can hear, but it doesn't see very well. So that's why you see turkey and deer in the field feeding together, because their senses all complement each other.
Oh, wow.
And
Interesting.
and you're not going to get anywhere near them. When one alerts, the others go on too. They work together. This is about teamwork. All right. If you pay attention to nature, nature can teach you everything you need to know. Watch the animals. Watch what the animals do. You need to learn how to build shelters, like improvised quickie. We call them evasion shelters. You want to build them so that they're hidden. Because if you need to get, like what we call, if you need to get off the X, which is wherever you happen to be at
Right.
that moment when things go sideways, okay, you need to have a plan, and you may need to just hide out somewhere. And we'll get into that in the next phase of this.
Okay.
Surveillance techniques and tactics. You need to understand how to keep an eye in your own house from a distance, how to watch your house, how to watch your property, whether it's electronic cameras, whether it's trip wires with flares, something like that. You want to learn all that. You want to get an idea what these skills are. You want to understand how to set up like an Overwatch area, which is kind of it's a military term. Basically means to just be in a position where you're overwatching a certain area or your house or whatever to see what happens. I'll get more into that in a little bit. You need to get some basics on, okay, how do I turn the tables on the federal criminals or anybody that invades my space?
Right.
Okay, you need to learn the techniques and tactics of how to do that. Perimeter security strategies, how to keep an eye on your perimeter. If you have property, you need to fence it, or you need
Right.
to have some way to get around it in a hurry.
Yeah.
Maybe make a path, like an ATV path or a side-by-side
Right.
road right along the perimeter of your property, so you can get out there and get around and deal with the situation if you have to.
And people need to know that this is relevant, because you and I both know, and I know people in real life, that months, weeks, even months, even still after the false flag of 1/6, people were having their doors kicked in by FBI agents all over this country. that happen to have been peaceful protesters in DC. We know a whole bunch of political prisoners for wrongthink are still in jail, but many, many civilians, people don't realize because the media doesn't report it, that literally thousands of people around this country have had their doors kicked in by rogue FBI and DHS and these people taking their devices. I know a guy was there, around March 6th, they showed up 6 a.m., kicked his door in California. He never even entered the Capitol. They took his laptops, his desktop, and his phones. And he still hasn't gotten them back. And then everything that he was sending on them was erased on other people's phones. So things he was sending to other people all got wiped out on other people's. So this is not something like, oh, this is seriously happening.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is, people got to remember that when you violate your oath, you have forfeit your authority
right
under the job that you're in. So you cannot kick a person's door in enforcing pretended legislation
right.
or any of this tyranny. When you're enforcing tyranny, you're no more important, okay, than the common household burglar.
Right.
And you have a constitutional right. God expects you to stand up and defend yourself, because being taken POW is not the option you want to go for. Okay. It's better to settle it right there on the spot. At least in my opinion, it's better to settle it right there and do as much damage as you can to the enemy as you possibly can, because you don't want to go the other route. Okay. You go through SEER school one time and you know that being a POW is not the way you want to go.
Right.
One second of freedom is better than a minute, a lifetime in captivity,
Right.
So it's better off you do that. So you need to know how to defend your home.
Right.
Home tactics, home defense tactics, what pieces of equipment you need to have to best defend your home, and what the mindset is that you have to have, and the fact that you don't want to be stuck in your home. You want to fight through and get out of your house, because as Patton said, a fixed fortification is a monument to man's stupidity. And most all police departments, they're all trained and they hope that you're going to get barricaded in your house. They're not ready for you to come out and go after them because
right.
they're the criminal. They're
right.
not expecting that. They're expecting you to be afraid of them. No, it's time.
Right.
It's time for the people to make them afraid. Okay. The enemy must be afraid of us.
Right.
Even
right.
Hitler respected and feared General Patton. All his generals feared and respected General Patton, because when they knew that he was coming, it was not going to be pleasant. And he was not stopping. He was not holding ground. You're not digging a foxhole here. We are moving through you. And
right.
that's the mindset you have to have.
Right.
You have to take it up. And that would be something that I would get into in detail, how to do that in a face-to-face class.
Right. Great. Cool. But we're going to make that happen someday.
Yeah. If we can. Yeah. Yep. So now
okay.
on to planning, section 3, on to planning. The scenario-based get off the X. All right. When shit hits the fan, we're gonna know it. Hopefully, I live for the day when the EBS goes off.
Me too.
I live for that day.
Me too.
Because I've been ready for 30 plus years for that thing to go off, and so I'm just ready. But that might be a cue to take and execute your plan.
Yeah.
All right. But like things like when your cell phone goes down, the cable goes down, the internet goes down, all that stuff, the phone systems go down, all that stuff, you need to act. You need to react. You need to get on the move.
Right.
All right. Because that's when you have 0 to 72 hours. That's when it begins. The decisions that you make based on the information, the training, and all that stuff that you have, that information has to be put into play right now without hesitation. Whether you're at work, you're at home, whatever the case may be, your family needs to know what to do. Okay, and I'll get into that here in a second. Basically, home. there's three basic areas that people are normally found in: your home, your vehicle, or at work.
Right.
One of those three places normally most people are found. Now with kids, that could be school. If you've got older kids at school, they need to be in on this plan as well. That's why this is a family thing. Okay, primarily the plan has to start at the family level and expand its way out. Okay,
Uh-huh.
you need to pick a location near your home where you can surveil your home. Okay, and you need to leave your electronics in your house. Don't take your phone. Don't take your car if you can help it. Anything that's trackable, even your fancy watches, your iWatches, your any electronic watches. I don't have electronic watches. I still use analog because there's survival applications to that too.
Right.
Multi-use. Everything you have should do more than one thing.
Right.
So you need to have a location where to get to that you can get to quickly and safely, and you have it ready to be there. And you need to have this information ready to go, whether it's day or night.
Right.
You need to be ready to go, and you need to respond and get to that location, depending on the time of year. Okay, you have to take considerations for summer, spring, winter, and fall. Now, some places those extremes are much different. Northern upstate New York in the wintertime, you better have snowshoes, skis, you better have something, but travel in the wintertime is very difficult because you leave footprints. There are ways to hide those, which I'm not going to discuss here, but you need to be aware that you have to take into account the time of year. You need to take into consideration the terrain surrounding your home. What kind of vegetation? That goes back to what time of year it is. In the fall and the winter, there's very little leaves on the trees. It's very much different hiding. Okay, your evasion plan has to be a little bit different. Are you in a city or an urban area? Okay, for you, your evasion plan would be much different in whatever situation you're in.
Right.
There, but you need to start thinking along those lines. Where can we go that's not right here where they're expecting me to be?
Right.
Okay? What you don't want to be, okay, is where they expect you to be. And it's just like in martial arts. The best way to get to a fight is to not be there where the punch is. So you need to be able to block it, deflect it, just not be there.
Right.
Distance. You got to consider the distance. How fast can you get to where you're going? How much time is it going to take for you to get there? And the size. The size is important. Is it just you? Is it you and a spouse? Is it you and a spouse and family? Where you go needs to be somewhere large enough to conceal you, okay, for the 72-hour period.
Right.
All this is based on 72 hours. Now, the 72 hours may end sooner or later, just depending on your situation, and you have to watch that and plan and adapt to that. But 72 hours is generally how long it may take to shut down the roads, roadblocks, checkpoints.
Right.
It takes time to set up all those things. That's why on your drive to work, you should be aware of things that are odd in like choke point areas, like on a highway, like in the median. Are they building it up for like setting up a tent area where they could set up a checkpoint? Is there a tunnel that you pass through? Are they setting up porta potties, work lights? You know, is all light carts all of a sudden showing up at places where it's kind of an odd, out of the ordinary type of thing? You got to keep an eye on that, make a note of all those things, and come up with a plan to get around those things. You need to plan for what they like to do is sometimes it's knock and sometimes it's no knock.
Right.
But basically the first thing you want to do is not respond to the door in the middle of the night. Don't respond to the door. It's sad to say that we're in a, if somebody's out there and they need help, well, I don't know. Everybody has to make a decision, but it's scary that we can't, open our doors to our fellow citizens, but we can't run that risk. It's way too risky now because the enemy is too emboldened and they've never had consequences for their oath violations. Now, in your vehicle, this is really dynamic because you have to basically come up with a plan. You need to pack your vehicle with certain equipment that you may need to leave your vehicle and ditch it and walk back home. Because if your plan for your family includes everybody is going to collapse on the house, okay? If you're at home or you're at work, your spouse is at work, and let's say you got kids at school, you need to have a plan how to gather them all up. Depending on their age, they may be able to evade and get back themselves, depending on how far away they are. And there's a lot of things that we're going to talk about that to take into consideration for doing that. But you have to picture your whole route from home to work. Okay, where are all the checkpoints, or where are all the choke points? Where are all the places that if I have to ditch my vehicle, I can pull off and I can ditch my vehicle and hide it so they're not looking for me? You want to leave any electronics there in the car.
Right.
Don't even take them 1 foot from the vehicle, because that gives you direction of travel.
Right.
I did missing person and missing aircraft search for 25 years as a civilian volunteer. Okay. That gives you direction of travel. I have done both sides of this, and I've taught both sides of this whole equation.
Right.
So this information people need to really consider. Okay. You need to think about the terrain and vegetation between home and work. Okay. Because you're going to be in your car. Time of year again. Roadblock avoidance and breaching. You may have to drive through a roadblock. Again, if it's one of those roadblocks where they think they're going to check your vaccine status,
Right.
okay, you do not want to be captured, because once you're captured, you have no more chance. You have a better chance fighting to the end and maybe getting away. Your chances of escape are higher than if you just give up.
Right.
Okay, because once you're captured, that's pretty much it. And most people are not James Bond. They're not MacGyver. You're not Mike, who I wouldn't want to try to capture, honestly. That would go badly.
Yeah.
But you need to think about the type of vehicle. Okay, is your vehicle set up to do off-road? All right. But you need to have supplies in your vehicle: a backpack, a pair of good boots, a change of clothing, and some other stuff that you may or may not have, but you should probably have. Equipment to fight with. Okay, if you need to do battle, you need to be equipped to do battle. You have to fight your way home. That is your goal. Wherever your point is, where everybody's going to go and meet up, that's where you need to go. Okay, so you need to be equipped that way, and it's dynamic. Now, being at work, okay, obviously you need to have a plan. Whether you enlighten your boss on what's going on or not, that's up to you. Me personally, I would let it be a shock to them, because when things go sideways, making your boss happy really isn't important at that point in time. You have bigger responsibilities, okay?
Yeah.
Your family is more important than anything else. You need to get to them without question. No matter what you have to do to get to them, you have to do.
Right.
You have to suck it up and you have to do it. Okay. So you need to have a point away from your work to watch either your vehicle or watch your work to see if there's any kind of response. All right. So you need to have these thought processes already going on in your head to work through this.
Right.
Hey, now, are you still here?
Yeah, I'm here. You don't see me?
Hang on here. Somehow
No, you probably
there
just
you are.
accidentally
There
changed
you
the
are.
view.
Yeah,
it looks normal on mine.
Yeah. So anyway, now what you got to do is, okay, we call this an evasion plan of action. All right. We did this professionally with aircrew. We looked at the terrain and the situation, whether it's overseas. I took a couple of trips to Baghdad back when I was still in, to work with some people and talk to them about what the current situation on the ground is, so that when I go back and I train my aircrew, I know what equipment they have available to issue to crews, what the terrain is, what the current status is. I need to be able to give them the best information I can. So you need, when you make this plan, everybody needs to be a part of it. Everybody in the family you need to sit down, you need to have a plan. It's a holistic, comprehensive plan on generally what you're going to do. What everybody has to have the same idea. Everybody needs to be on the same page. They need to know that, okay, whatever I have to do, I need to go home.
Right.
Or I need to go to this other location. Or I need to go up to our hole up site. Okay, that's what you need to do. You need to talk about communication. Do you have a ham radio? When things go sideways, the FCC doesn't matter anymore. As long as you have that radio, and actually even in normal time, you don't need a ham license to talk or converse about an emergency.
Right.
Well, you getting home to your family is an emergency.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can legally use a ham radio if you're in an emergency situation.
Yeah.
Okay. But
yeah,
normally,
and I've been I just wanted people to know for this, because I've been working with the satellite phone store. You can find it on my website, and I have these new satellite phones, and they're awesome, and they work outside. We tested them all over when we were going, and as long as you're outside, it'll work anywhere, in the middle of the ocean, in the middle of the forest, anywhere, it'll work. And it's by satellite, so they can't hack into it, and they can't track and trace you. And there's things out there like that. The satellite phone is really great. I recommend it. Also, that, like, your biggest thing you said before was don't take your electronics, because if you have your phone and your watch and you're prioritizing these things when you are in danger and you can't be captured, and they got you. So, you have to find alternatives. The ham radio is great too. And yeah, of course, the FCC doesn't matter. In combat, in real, this kind of battle. I mean, we're in a battle.
Yeah, and I don't ever recall seeing them in the Constitution either as a federal agency. So that's another alphabet agency that doesn't need to be.
No.
But yeah, I've been a ham radio operator, I don't know, probably 15 years now.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's a really good thing to do, because you want to get in and learn. If you get your license, you can start learning about repeater systems and all kinds of other stuff, line of sight communications. Right. There's all kinds of non-radio communications. There's signal mirrors and all kinds of stuff that you can learn. But
right.
One of the other things is you need to come up with travel plans. Everybody kind of needs to submit verbally their travel plans, so that if I get to a point, and maybe I need to go find somebody after a certain period of time,
right,
I need to kind of have an idea of what their initial travel plans were. Now, obviously, everything can deviate. You may need to go around an obstacle, around a checkpoint, around whatever. And that's a whole land nav course that I could teach, to teach you how to circumvent those kinds of things in a very methodical way.
Right.
Now, one of the big things that I could tell you from escape and evasion training is estimates of time of travel. Okay. When this happens and you're on foot, minutes become hours.
Wow.
What normally would take you, 5 minutes down the road, could take you hours to get there without being caught. Obviously, the whole point of this is not being caught. Hours will quickly become days of travel. Right. Days will become weeks, and weeks can take months. Okay. And that's why you have to have a comprehensive plan that, okay, we're going to wait. Okay. If 3 of us get here, we're going to wait this long for you to get here. And then maybe what we'll do is we'll move to another location in the direction that you are coming from and hold up there and see if you've made it there. And again, this is normally an hour at least alone, this section of training.
Right.
We talk about all the intricacies on how you can make these plans work. You need realistic communication window timeframes. You don't want to waste the batteries in your radio. Unless you have a solar charger, you really need to maintain your battery life. Okay. And every 3 hours for 3 minutes on channel 3.
Right.
Okay. Now that's channel 3 on the CB. That's channel 3. What channel 3 is usually for ham radios. It's the 2 meter frequency. So 146.52 is the 2 meter. frequency that you would probably use for general communications, unless you set up a specific one with your family.
Right.
Obviously, if everybody had a ham radio, and you broke it out in an emergency, you can use that. Now, that being said, electronic communications gear like that, and an AM FM radio, you want to store that in an old microwave because it's a Faraday cage. You find an old microwave, best thing to do, take the prongs, take the 2 power prongs, clip them off, plug that grounding prong into the wall socket, and now you have yourself a very high efficiency Faraday cage to protect your electronics from EMP.
Wow.
Okay. Very, very, that's the smallest scale. Now you could scale that up. You could, let's say you could take a shipping container, one of those intermodal shipping containers, if you ground it, take a strap and ground the doors to the sides, and then on each end of it, drive a grounding rod 4 feet into the dirt and run a grounding wire to that, you can make that into one big giant Faraday cage.
Wow.
Okay. It works very well.
Wow. Cool.
Your comm out plan. This is probably one of the most important aspects of your plan. Your comm out. What if you can't communicate? Like you're talking about with your satellite phones, and Mike Adams has the satellite phones as well.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you don't have one of those, you don't have the luxury of one of those. And even then, who knows what's going to happen? They could shut those down too. We don't know to what level that they're going to go. Okay. So you have to have a very comprehensive comm out plan.
Right.
This is what we are going to do, and this is how we're going to do it, and when. Okay, this is the essence of the whole thing. Everything should be built. Everything should be built on the comm out plan. Okay, everything should be built into that because that's the one that can't fail you.
Right.
Okay, electronics can fail you, batteries can fail you. Even the Coast Guard rescue swimmers that I used to work with, they never changed the radios in the batteries in their radios. They just get a whole new radio.
Right.
Because their life out in the ocean in the worst possible conditions imaginable, you don't want to have disturbed the factory seal on that radio.
Wow.
Because you could easily just go completely missing.
Right.
Really
of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Now you need to have what we call a safe area along your route of evasion. In your area of operation, where your house, around your work, around your car, whatever. There's 2 different things. You have a hold up location, which is like a quick get off of your house, get off the X, get to that location so that you can watch what's going on. Okay. Then you have a full on bug out location where you actually, if you choose that you can't retake your home, depending on who shows up and in what numbers,
right,
you may need to continue away from your house to a bug out location, which is actually stocked with batteries, flashlights, food, a couple MREs, a change of clothing, all those kind of things based on the environment, based on the time of year, things like that. So, but what you want to do is with that bug out location, once you set it up, you don't ever want to go back there. You don't want to make a trail. You don't want to make it obvious that anybody's ever been there. You want it to be overgrown, but you want to know where it is because you want to go somewhere where you're not expected to go.
Right.
Okay. That is so important is you need to go somewhere where they're not going to expect you to go until you can figure out the situation. Okay. Now, decision making. Decision making is really, really important. The first decision you need to make is when to react and how to react upon recognition of shit hits the fan. Okay, what is your trigger? You're going to need to set that up. What is it? What is it how you realized that things are going sideways? Okay, obviously everybody's going to be aware of the EBS. When that goes off, the way I understand it, talking to people that understand communications at a higher level of mind, it's going to take over everything. This is a satellite-based version of an EC-130. An electronic countermeasure C-130 can actually take over all communications in a given area.
Wow.
Okay. Well, this is a satellite version of that on steroids.
Right.
So, yep. So you need to you need to watch and keep an eye on things, strange things going on, because what's going to happen is if they take stuff down, what they're trying to do is they're going to affect the 3 C's, the command, control, and communication of everything going on, whether it's even law enforcement and things like that. If it's a big enough down and out situation, their communications might be down too. You don't know, but they may be selective to certain frequencies. They may be selective to certain formats of media. Okay. Internet down, cell down, cable down, radio stations going offline, coming back on, going offline with an EBS. You don't know. Okay. Do you observe UN forces or NATO forces with blue helmets come marching down your street? That should be a major trigger.
Yes, it should. Yes, it should. And it's not that far-fetched.
Nope, it's not, because that is an act of war. No matter who thinks that it's okay. Oh, they let them here, they asked them here. That's not true. The Constitution says that's an act of war. You have to act like you're at war at that point.
Right.
You have to do what you have to do your due diligence to take down the enemy. Okay, you are a combatant now. Okay, just like the founding fathers were, and every single militia in the country at that time, the 13 colonies, they were all combatants at that point.
Right.
No matter who you were, whether you were a dentist or you were a lawyer or anybody.
Right.
Okay. No matter what, whether you were a lawyer, guess what? You're now a combatant.
Doesn't matter. Right.
Everybody's a combatant here.
Right.
And it's going to get ugly.
Right.
So you want to do that. You want to, if your radio communication is jammed, that's a definite sign of future aggression. Okay. If you notice that your radios are jammed, and you'll notice, you'll somewhat be able to tell when that happens.
Right.
Because it'll make weird noises a lot of times.
Right.
Or it'll be scrambled. Like our communication here would be garbled, or it would be digitized. Okay. That could be a sign. Another big red flag that you should have is if you have an aggressor at the door. Okay. It doesn't matter how you're dressed. Okay. We citizens, we the people, we're going to not treat you how you're dressed, but we're going to treat you by your actions and your hostile intent.
Right.
Okay. The actions that you get from us, or response you get from us people, you should expect that if you know that you're there for tyrannical and enforcing pretended legislation reasons, you need to know that you're in violation of your oath and you're going to get a hostile response.
Right.
This should not be a shock to you. Okay. By this time, you should know. And anybody that's left in uniform, okay, after 72 hours, that's not home taking care of their own family,
right,
watching their family, more than likely they are enemy.
Right.
If they're still in uniform at that point, not so much the military, but law enforcement. Okay. If they are doing hostile things after 72 hours, we have a problem, because they should be taking care of their own family.
Right.
I would be getting out of uniform, taking care of my family.
Right.
Okay. At that point.
Yeah. This is a real problem, and you've spoken about it from history. I speak about it all the time. Following orders after this point is unacceptable. Either you're on the team of we the people of the United States of America, or you're not. And you're an enemy combatant as far as I'm concerned, as I think the entire Washington, D.C. is at this moment. But,
Oh, absolutely. Yep. All right. We'll get on. And you don't want to be sieged. You don't want to be besieged in your house. Yeah. Okay. If you're a moving target and you're a moving opponent, you need to be moving. Okay. Don't get holed up in your house, because they always win that way. Okay. They always win that way. So you need to be more aggressive, and you need to not be locked in your own house, and you don't want to be captured. Now, one of the big things is you've done all this stuff. You've prepared yourself, you trained yourself, you've come up with a plan, you've made certain decisions based on all these things. Now you need to execute the plan. And this is really important, because all that's work that you've done, if you don't execute it,
right,
you've just wasted all that time and effort and supplies and gear and things like that. You have to take this deadly seriously. This is not a game. People around the world need to know that this is not a game. Okay, they are coming and they're coming to kill you.
Right.
Okay, this is not a game, whether it be by this
Right.
or they're going to just walk in and shoot you. If you
Right.
don't put up a fight, okay, God expects you to put up a fight. He didn't give you
Right.
self-defense. He didn't give you the Second Amendment. He didn't give you all these things. He didn't give you Ephesians 6, okay, 10 through 17. He didn't give you Psalms 144.1. He didn't give you all those for frivolous reasons. He
Right.
expects you to utilize them. Okay. Also, we need to execute the plan that 6 million people in Europe didn't get to execute.
Right.
Okay. We need to put that into plan. Think of you, think of them, think of the founding fathers, all the things that they've given you.
Right.
Think of God. You've got to work it.
Right.
Okay. I'm sure they all wish that if they could have had a mulligan, they would have done it different.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the elders and a lot of the villages and a lot of the towns in Warsaw coerce them into just
I know.
comply. It'll be okay. Comply. I can't tell you how many times I read that in all the books that I read.
Me too. And
It's
they
a common
deny
thread.
it, which only makes us stupid. This is why a lot of good people are going to have to go out there and correct history on the other side of this, so people actually know what really did happen. And because all these people blindly following the doctors and the science and blindly following it, refuse to do their own research even a little bit. It's amazing. So.
Oh yeah. Okay. Let's get. If you're successful in winning your initial engagement, basically, if you are victorious on Lexington Green, you need to get off the X, get your gear together, affect your plan, and get moving. Okay. You need to be like The Walking Dead. You need to be like the people that you watch in The Walking Dead. They're always on the move. They're nomadic.
Right.
Okay. Because stopping and holding up until everything is settled is not going to be a good thing.
Right.
No electronic comms. Okay. For the first 24 to 72 hours should be covered. You shouldn't communicate unless you absolutely have to, because that's trackable. Okay. RF is traceable. Don't do that till after 72 hours. Do the comm out plan.
Right.
Okay. Don't use credit cards. They can be tracked through RFID. They can be tracked through transactions and stuff. GPS receivers, RF watches can be tracked. iPhones can be tracked. iWatches can be tracked. iPads can be tracked. Any of the electronic crap, you need to get rid of that stuff. Vehicles with OnStar, vehicles with Honda Link, vehicles with any of those satellite-based things, your vehicle can be traceable.
Right.
Okay, you have to know that. You may not have a choice but to use your vehicle. Okay, but you need to understand that is something you need to consider. Okay, and whatever you do, when you're setting up your bug out location or your evasion routes or whatever, don't use GPS on your OnStar. Don't use your handheld GPS for this stuff. All right, use a good old fashioned compass and a map. Nothing can beat a compass and a map skill. Okay, so you want to make sure you have all that down. GPS actually, it keeps cookies like breadcrumbs.
Right.
Every time you log into the satellite, even in your handheld GPS, it actually will keep track of it. It's just like radar we used to use for missing aircraft search. Even though you're not squawking like what a monkey uses to track all the airplanes, if you turn that transponder off, if you have access to the right link, you can actually see that little blip go across the screen, but it won't tell you who you are, or where you are, or what you're from, or whatever, but it exists there. We've actually found people who didn't file a flight plan. We've actually found their crash site that way.
Oh, wow.
Okay, between the tracking on the satellite, the satellites and the radar, and a cell phone signal, in upstate New York, I actually found a gentleman who crashed his helicopter in a tree grove.
Wow.
We had the general area done by his satellite ping off his cell tower and the generic satellite tracking, air traffic control tracking. And we merged the two together, found the general area, and me and another guy went out there. They looked for him for 4 days in Pennsylvania, and they dispatched us up in upstate New York because they saw something odd. and me and another guy went out. We found him.
Wow.
He'd been there for 4 days, crashed in pinned underneath his helicopter.
Oh my God.
So yeah, that was one of the fun things I used to do when I was in Civil Air Patrol. So
Yeah. Well,
okay, now transition. This is the last section. This one kind of goes kind of quick. But you have to make all this other stuff work first. All right. And this one is more mindset than anything else. You have to transition from defense to offense. Until we the people win the war
right.
against the enemy, we are all combatants.
Right.
You have a duty. You have a duty to protect your family, but you also have a duty, okay, to aid in the downfall of the enemy. Okay. After 72 hours, you need to cease defensive operations. You need to have a different mindset at first. You need to start thinking, okay, I'm not the prey anymore. I'm the predator. Okay, because believe me, that actually exponentially ups your vibrations, as Mike always says. That's going to up your vibrations when you turn from the prey to being the predator.
Right.
Okay, you're going to up your vibration. You're going to up your confidence, and now you're going to be mission oriented.
Right.
Okay, I need to get my family somewhere safe. Okay, now the best example I can tell you that there's a movie called Defiance. If you want to read about,
I know that movie. That's a great movie.
Okay. Well, both the brothers actually were in Manhattan for 30 years.
True story. That's
yep.
They
ran a trucking company there until they both died, and they're buried in Israel.
I know.
But yeah, the Bielski brothers and Defiance. That's what they did. They went from defensive to offensive, and they did a very effective job of it.
Yeah.
Okay. But you have to be in a location now. If you have moved off your house and you've observed it for 72 hours and nothing happens, you don't get any response there. Okay. You may not been a big enough fish for them to come after. Okay. But guess what? Now you still need to get yourself together, and you still don't want to stay on that X as best you can.
Right.
All right. Now, certain situations and everybody, it could happen. You may need to do that.
Right.
You don't know. But every decision you make, you have to make it individually or as a family.
Right.
Okay. All this stuff has to be adapted to this. And again, if I was doing an actual seminar, each of these sections we would talk about, and I would go over as a group. It generally takes about an hour for one of these sections to actually get feedback from the crowd and actually answer questions and help them get the right mindset before we move on to the next stage. And everybody that's took it, probably, I don't know, just shy of 300, I think, before I left New York. It completely changed their whole mental state about all this.
Right. You don't feel any more helpless. You feel like you can make a plan. You can up your game. You can be prepared and in a different way. One thing you said that's really important, and people need to realize, buying the guns and the satellite phone and the food supply doesn't really matter if you don't learn how to use all this stuff, and B, there's been so many gun sales, legal gun sales. The illegal guns are the
constitutional gun sales.
Right. But the truth is, people better make sure, not only, like you said, that they learn how to use the gun, but that they know inside that if and when this happens, that they're ready to defend their family. Right.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it can be used against you if you're not in
right.
And just having it isn't the goal. Right.
Just having it and actual skills is important, because that's transportable. You can take that everywhere you go. I know people that have stockpiles of everything you can think of, but you're not mobile.
Right.
Okay. You can get more off the battlefield. Okay. You need more ammo. You strip. Okay. You take what you can. You need food. You'll find food on the road. Okay. That's where survival skills come in.
Right.
But yeah, you need to utilize the battle space the best that you can, and having 100,000 of one thing or 10,000 of something else, nobody can move that.
Right.
Okay. Now,
Right.
if that's hidden in a bunker in the side of a hill, that's different, okay?
Right.
Where you could go and come back and go and come back
Right.
as long as nobody finds it,
Right.
okay? That's where it's pretty hidden. So, but
Yeah. I just
um,
want people to make sure that, like, and like you said, a lot of this work is about mindset, visualization, going inside, having a plan, having the whole family really get it. Like, if, this is where we're going to be at this hour, or all this stuff. It really has to be drilled in to, like, that it's automatic. And it's also the mindset is we're not going to go down. We're fighting a battle and we're going to win this battle. And that requires everyone to be not just prepared and skilled, but in on them, really get it.
oh yeah, they got to get it. And I actually know people that actually run like fire drills
Right.
with their family. No joke.
It's not a
Okay,
stupid thing to do.
it's
Yeah.
not a stupid thing to do, okay? Because what happens is you realize, oh man, I thought I could fit that in a car, but that container really doesn't work very well for this.
Right.
And until you run a drill, you don't really know what those chinks in the armor are going to be.
Right.
And these people are going to bring some pain to anybody that comes after them.
Right.
And that's what you have to do, because they won't stop until they find consequences.
Right.
And they've never had consequences. And it's crazy. And people, one of the things, the best way, and all the veterans out there can tell you, the way you win an engagement is through speed, or actually surprise, speed, and violence of action. So you need to bring it back on them,
Right.
like they think they're going to bring it back on you.
Right. And all the work I've done on these people, the one world government, everyone, the UN, all these, the same, all the bloodlines, all of them. The one thing that they fear the most is us. so like you're saying, that the one thing they fear the most is us being awake, us not being docile and following orders, and us calling them out saying, no, you're not in control. No. And that's what they fear the most. That's why they keep us in pain and in fear and panic, sick. All this stuff is about them. But at the end of the day, I think these people, not only are they in their last stand and backed against the wall, but they fear us. And that's what people have to know. We have to stop fearing them, because the whole fear thing is their biggest tool, right?
Oh yeah, yep. Fear is definitely the biggest tool. We need to turn it on its head. And one of the things that has unfortunately crippled us as Americans is, and it's unfortunate that, we've taught our kids for generations and generations and generations to basically comply and respect someone in uniform. Well, they've used that against us, because now people they don't see through the clothing, the costume. Okay, if you're in violation of your oath, I don't care what costume you put on. If I know you're in violation of your oath, you've come to the wrong place.
Right.
All right.
Right.
You have to see through that costume and understand that the oath, the Constitution of God, is what matters.
Right.
Not how they're dressed.
Right.
Okay, whether it's blue or gray or green or whatever the color is,
right,
that they show up wearing. Okay,
right.
and there's so many wannabe military people that just they put our military gear on, and now they think they're Superman, and they're like completely powerful.
Also, a lot of the good cops are gone. A lot of the good cops are gone, and not that they're bad cops or cops that are criminals. I'm just saying they're cops that it's a job. They're following orders. It used to be cops were generational and it was a calling and all of that. Well, especially in New York, I'm telling you, the cops that they have now comply with de Blasio over protecting the people, period. It's over here. So, and I know it's not just here, but we're a big model. Look at it, Portland, all these places. All because you're a cop at this point, people have to know their rights. They have to know, they should, like you said, everyone should have a Bill of Rights, a Bible, and a Constitution at their hands, at their door. And like you said, there's something important. You don't have to open the door. Okay. People need to know that.
No, Fourth Amendment.
Right. We should do a Bill of Rights thing again, because it's really important. Okay. But you know what else I want to do with you maybe next time is the evolution of the UN, because I really do fear that that's the end goal here. NATO, when I saw them open the Millie and Austin cheering on the first fully functional NATO base in American soil. I know all about the UN, but now we have them filling our military bases with unvetted Afghanis. and we have them filling our military bases with unvetted cartel members, MS-13. They're at our bases as if that's a good idea. So like what we're saying is really just about protecting we the people like founding fathers had to. And believe me, in the beginning, people probably thought they were being alarmists too, but we're not. They're already here. People have seen them, and prove it or not prove it. There are Chinese soldiers in Canada. Okay, because I've seen it. People have sent me. We don't know what is going on in DC. I will tell you right now that they are rebuilding that fence. Somebody sent me some pictures, a fireman down there that's a real good patriot. He said, I do not know what's going on here, but something is going on. And, and the other thing is this unholy alliance with the charter of the UN at the very bottom, which a lot of people don't know, the Nazis that started the UN put in there that they could supersede the US Constitution and that they could, and no, they can't. Okay, no, they can't. But they decided that they could, and people have to know that that's not true.
Yeah, there's a reckoning that's going to happen when they hit the ground and start walking around.
I'm telling you, if nothing else wakes the people up, first it'll be the crash of the economy that they're going to trigger. But if those UN and NATO soldiers show up in America on the streets, it's going to go a different direction. And that's why people need to know what you're talking about and prepare for that. I hope it never happens, but we can't be stupid. We can't be foolish.
We can't say it. We can't say it can't happen because it's already happened.
Yeah,
it's already happened.
Times.
It's already happened more than once.
I know.
And we have to be smart about it. And it's some scary stuff. So hopefully,
there's too many Americans, honestly, Paul, that don't realize what really happened on January 6th, and that there's literal political prisoners being tortured by, in my opinion, enemy combatants controlled by a foreign government in Washington, D.C. right now for 6 months. And the judges in D.C. and the elected officials are acting like it's okay. And that's, people need to wake up and know 1-6 was a setup. And those people are political prisoners that should never have been in jail for one day. It might have maybe give them a ticket. What is going on? So it can happen to anyone, and they really need to be prayed for, because a lot of them I heard are a bunch of them are now mentally destroyed to the point that the PTS, like you talked about, for no reason, because they're political prisoners held by our elite oligarchy, and it can happen to anyone.
Yep, they need to stop that, and what we need to do is we need to out the names of all the people who are causing the abuse. And they need to fear going home.
Yeah, these judges are the worst. Do you know that a guy that was let out after months, that was in the Capitol for 3 minutes, let in by Capitol Police, because there's pictures of it, that he was re-arrested by the judge in DC because he was watching Mike Lindell's symposium. This is a true story. She rescinded his probation and put him back in jail for watching the truth.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this reckoning needs to be deep and painful.
Or you and I know, or they're just going to reinvent themselves after a short underground movement and pop up somewhere else like the UN with the Fourth Reich. So, Paul, you are a hero and a patriot and my favorite historian out there. And I really do at some point want to just go through the truth about the UN and their power. They don't have any.
We can do that.
And we got to reiterate that, because they're going to be trying to tell American citizens that we have to bow to the UN pretty soon. So we got to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yep. I suggest people copy this segment and watch it and take notes.
Yes, they will. And we'll put all your info below as always. And we'll try to set up something on I have the new melkshow.tv, which is a whole different platform. And we can set up your seminar there, all 6 hours if you want. We'll figure it out. But I think it's really worthwhile.
I'd like to do it in person somewhere too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. We can. Well, I'm going all over the country. I'm sure all these people would love it. So anyway, thank you so much, Paul. Sorry I've been so on and off, because I love your show. And we'll see you next week. And thank you for your service too. You never stopped. Oh, because you're not active duty. You're still active duty every day to God and country. And I really appreciate it.
And one more thing. Rest in peace, RDS.
I know. Poor buddy.
All right.
They got him. We'll get them. RDS.
Oh, yeah. Paybacks.
Yeah. Okay, great. Bye-bye.
Take care, Mel.
Bye.